Every single person has people that they know, they love, they care about. Knowing how to perform CPR effectively is literally the difference between life and death.
We did do the best that we could. The best that we could was enough. It's comforting to know that we did the right thing.
During the time of the incident, we were completely naive to the fact that I had any health issues at all. We were sort of young, newly married, had one small kid.
We were a really active family, just living life.
It was January 20th, 2019. We had plans to go visit our friends, Ro and Bree, and within minutes of being at their house, I stood up from the couch where I was sitting. I said, I think I'm gonna pass out, and just immediately fell back on the couch.
Bree called 911. We obviously knew it, something was terribly wrong. I noticed that Keith's face was starting to turn blue, and then just compressed until the paramedics arrived. I made eye contact with the first one. He said, I can take over, and I screamed, please help him.
They had to intubate me on the spot and then rush me into the hospital, where I then underwent 48 hours of therapeutic hypothermia. They had to cool my whole body down, warm me up over the course of that 48 hours. It was then that my family was, made aware of the statistics, which are that 90% of people who go through what I went through don't live. And of the 10% that do live, only 1% survive with no brain damage. So they had to sort of wrestle with that over the course of that 48 hours.
And I just remember being like, is Keith ever gonna walk back into this house again? Like, is he ever gonna be here?
Thankfully, 48 hours later, I came back. One of the first things I said, and this is so strange, is I actually put my hand on my heart and I said, I think I need to see a heart doctor.
They could not find anything wrong with his heart. So all of his EKGs, his blood work, everything came back normal, which for me was the most frustrating.
They basically immediately wanted to put a defibrillator in my chest. They had no idea what had caused me to go into sudden cardiac arrest, and still don't to this day. Recovery was about 3 months of physical therapy, cardiac rehab, regaining strength on the right side of my body. I knew how much pain my wife was in, and I knew how strong she had to be in the hospital.
I think he and I had different experiences. So he went through physical trauma, where I went through more of the emotional. It took us a long time to find our stride.
We also sort of chose, like, hey, I'm alive. All the things I've ever wanted to do, we're gonna do. It wasn't until like 2.5 years later that everything sort of came to the surface and we realized, like, whoa, we're not okay, and we need to stop all of this stuff so we can just have the capacity and the time to be able to heal. Almost 3 years after my first cardiac arrest incident, I was at work and I went into sudden cardiac arrest again. My defibrillator brought me back on my office floor. This second time caused them to probe a little deeper, and although they still can't figure out what is going on with me, they were able to adjust my medication and put me on a medication that prevents these deadly arrhythmias. So it was like a blessing in disguise type of thing that it happened again. I am just growing in gratitude to still be alive today. Had my wife not started CPR when she started it, I most likely would have brain damage if I would have lived, or I wouldn't be here. My daughter, she wouldn't be here today had I not lived.
If we can encourage one person to go learn CPR, that puts purpose behind some of the pain that I think that we've experienced.
While we love this house and we've made it our home, here we are 1 week before we move into this sort of new season of life, and we're here capturing our story for the first time to hopefully impact other people. Everybody needs to know how to perform CPR.